Last week, hundreds of Livonia residents woke up to flooded basements after several inches of rain fell across our area. I'm Jason Rzucidlo, reporting right outside the Livonia City Hall, where a public forum is being held to discuss solutions for the problem.
We will greatly appreciate your cooperation in this. Is that we're going to try to address with a two-part meeting. The first part meeting will be information sharing, research we've done, reporting back to you what we think took place. And after that presentation is over, we'll move to that as quickly as we can, because we know that you come here to communicate with us. It's very interesting to hear what you have to say. We could have, now that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. We are anxious to hear what you say. We wouldn't hear, and we wouldn't have a meeting where the only video that we know in the Tri-County area that's attempted to communicate directly to the citizens in this matter. So we're sincere about what we've done. A lot of people that will be presenting to you today worked all day long, all lunch and so forth, because we wanted to make this a quality experience in terms of the information we have to share with you. I would ask of you that if it comes time when folks have an opportunity to go back and share your experience with us, ask your questions, that you recognize further comments that you feel positive about in the cause, and those people you don't agree with, you keep polite and sit and accept what's happening. We do not want any jeering, any kind of bullying in anything that would be not Livonia. We can go elsewhere and find audiences that react that way. We do not want that to happen. If we have people isolated that want to make this more of a demonstration rather than information sharing kind of thing, we will ask them to leave, because the vastness of the audience, if the entire audience wants to do other than try to communicate with your attention to, we will just have to try to reschedule and start again. So we must have the appropriate degree of fidelity, or it doesn't work, and that's not Livonia. We don't plan to talk over you. You hopefully will not talk over us, will not talk over your fellow citizens, and we'll try to make it as efficient and as just a kind of genuine Livonia as we can. Now, with those 17 remarks made, and I hope our people in the community areas are able to hear this, and we apologize for you to talk with me and any other department that you would like to talk with. What we would like to do is to try to set the stage for what we think is the reason that many people are feeling less than positive about what happened to you on May 25. At that point in time, a couple of television stations did some things. There were some reports in the newspaper a couple of days later. And what I've attempted to do as your mayor, not a very popular thing, but trying not to create an over-optimistic thought of what happens in events of this type. If our sewer system was working and functioning almost perfectly, to our knowledge, on the 24th of May, and it returned to a functioning state on the 26th or 27th, most experts, and this was a regional event, it was not a Livonia event. Most videos have seen that it was just what they call a surcharged sewer system that could not accept any additional water, and the excessive water was going places that created huge tragedies for you and your families. We feel very, very sad about what has happened. Things were destroyed in your basements that you could never replace again. Part of your family pictures and things that just really are basically cannot be replaced. We feel very badly about that. We feel very badly about anybody that had to go through the experience. My next door neighbor lives in a home that's been there more than again about the magnitude of what happened and why it's not only overloaded our sewer system, but the county system that also is geographically in Livonia, and we will present all of that to you by a series of speakers. This is going to take about 45 minutes, and what you really came here to do is share with us what was on your mind, but we hope that the information shared with you, in some instances, will answer your questions. And if not, we will be available at other times to work with you on a one-to-one basis. But the problem is, and this is what, as an individual, I'm being most criticized for, is that I'm trying to present a realistic way that not only in Livonia, but everywhere it works in terms of whether claims are honored or whether they're partially honored or they're not honored at all. Because many of you have started the process of restoration of your basements, and there are a number of people going through Livonia saying, we can do it for $18,000, you submit the bill to the city will pay it, and so forth. None of this information, we wish it were true, but none of this information is true.
To look at you at the same time, but yeah. How about over here?
All right, come around here and just sit here.
This is the standard homeowners policy that most of you have. The standard homeowners policy with virtually all insurance companies has an absolute exclusion for water damage by seepage, by water backup, by sump overflow, and so forth. So that's the basic policy. Most insurance companies then add a rider to that policy, and virtually all companies will provide at least $5,000 in coverage for water backup or sump pump overflow, and you can buy higher limits. So there's some carriers that will give you $50,000, $100,000, whatever you want to pay for. Even if you have that coverage, you would not have coverage for water that seeps through walls or through foundations. It only covers backup of sewers or drains or sump pump overflow for the limit that you have. In addition, you all have an exposure for mold that ensues from water that's in your home. It's always a very serious exposure, and again, all insurance companies exclude mold to begin with, and they may add $5,000 or $10,000. Some carriers might give you $50,000. Just depends on the insurance company. The question also arises what would happen if you had the federal flood insurance program, which covers a broader range of water losses. Unfortunately, the federal flood program excludes any personal property in a basement that does not have a walkout door. And I would guess that few people probably have a federal flood program that is required to do so by their mortgage company. So we talked about the homeowners policy provides no coverage to begin with. Then they add on $5,000, sometimes more, except for seepage that comes through walls. Mold coverage, $5,000 of coverage, perhaps sometimes more. And flood coverage is not going to, true flood coverage is not going to do a lot of good under these circumstances. The most important thing to do is to turn this law into the insurance company. Let them make the